So we thought 2016 was bad. We didn't really see 2017 coming, did we? Kinda makes you long for the year of famous deaths we had last year. Although that may be because we now have a few we could do with getting rid of. On the plus side, my assumption at the end of last year's video that the Donald would wipe out the world in nuclear hellfire didn't come to fruition, so good for him. Unless something happens between me recording and publishing this. No! Don't you do it! Well, I think that's me met the quota required for political coverage in non-political media, required by the rules of 2017. I look forward to finding out if it made me a communist or a Nazi, because according to the internet in 2017, Western society has reverted to Weimar Germany. Maybe they're right, and Hitler was actually just playing the long game. Then again, maybe not. Since this thing's meant to be about games, I should probably get onto that. It's ironic, don't you think, that as we near the end of the year, a made-up currency would be skyrocketing in value, unless it's not again, in which case ignore my ramblings. I'm less a Wolf of Wall Street and more of a scrote of Sucky Hall Street. Yes, it's a real place. No, I didn't make up a word. Your accent's stupid. Let's move on. What was I getting at? Oh yeah, EA making a cunt of their microtransaction fake monies and loot boxes and shining a light on a seedy corner of gaming they and other publishers would have rather remained shrouded in darkness. Now, to go with their many Worst Company of the Year awards, they now have the distinguished honour of most downvoted Reddit comment in history, which as of now stands at... Ha! We all knew it was coming. We knew one day a publisher would overreach and just push that little bit too far, and let's be honest, is anyone surprised it was EA? I mean, I think it could be argued that they were really one of the first to legitimise or make acceptable the idea of loot boxy, microtransaction-y nonsense with Ultimate Team and FIFA. It's something that has existed since FIFA 09. And ironically, the mode itself was paid DLC in the beginning. Little did they know the relative pittance that income would provide when compared with the microtransactions that were to come. But finally, gamers are starting to fight back in about fucking time. Too often these pricks have gotten away with this shit as we all quietly grumbled but paid regardless. With their venture into pay to win, the penny has dropped for many, and that constant bollocks about it's only cosmetic that they've been peddling for a few years now was, well, just that. Bollocks. Or maybe not. Maybe things will just get back to normal soon enough. Actually, yeah, that's probably going to happen. Fuck. What else happened? Oh yeah, Nintendo ended last year getting everyone excited for rooftop Switch parties or whatever. Then they reminded everyone that they were still Nintendo with a very Nintendo-like press conference in January to make everyone sad again. Then they released the Switch and no one cared. Then later in the year, people suddenly cared. It was weird. Despite the fact that there was like maybe 2 games I'd play, I kind of want one now. I'll be honest, that kind of worries me. So as it turns out, I bought one a day after recording this, so yeah. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Also, Bethesda, stop remaking Skyrim, you fuckers. I want a new game. Anyway, time for a bit of housekeeping. Rules. There they are. Done reading? Good, moving on. While also remembering I don't own a PS4 and my forays into PC gaming usually last for around 30 minutes after a Steam sale. And also, you know, spoilers, maybe. On to the top 5 games of 2017. So I kind of hate myself for putting this here, but I really couldn't not put it here. I'll explain. I had a sort of love-hate relationship with Destiny 1. I loved the shooting mechanics, initial playthrough of missions and whatnot. I also loved the co-op aspect. I still fondly remember figuring out the first raid with my mates and the sense of accomplishment that came from finishing it. But after working through the majority of the content, you're left with nothing but an endless, unfulfilling grind towards nothing, really. And this sort of served me on Destiny until the Taken King, which ultimately ended the same way. So the sequel. Did they fix everything that was wrong while improving on the positives? Did they keep me around longer? The answer... sort of. It probably goes without saying that the things I liked about the first game were the things I liked about the sequel. It was also nice of them to actually include a story this time, which actually kept me somewhat interested, surprisingly. The raid was fantastic. While it didn't feel quite as special as the first raid did, it's still one of the most entertaining things you can do in gaming if you can find 5 other people you can tolerate for a while. Getting loot this time felt like less of a grind, which was both a positive and a negative, really. Well, in the first it took a while to get raid ready, and it took no time at all this time. Which, unfortunately, gets you to the end game faster, and again, that's where Destiny 2 stumbles like Destiny 1 did, in keeping my attention through a grind towards nothing. So you're probably thinking right now, this doesn't sound that positive, why has this Bellend got it on his list? And I get that, but it may be because it's less about the game itself and more about the opportunity it presents you with to just fuck about with your friends. There's times you end up just running around the tower for 45 minutes yammering on about guns, armour, or something else that's utterly pointless. Or spending hours grinding public events and talking utter pish while doing it. Or giving your mates abuse for fucking up a raid section. It's kind of difficult to explain. As long as you have a goal to strive for and friends to strive with it, it's a perfect game to escape into. I still have the love-hate relationship I had with the first one, and like the first one, I'd take a Taken King down the road to dip my toe back in. Is it revolutionary? No. But it has something, it's just fun. Well, it lasts anyway. Isn't that what games are for? So, The Stick of Truth was actually my Game of the Year in 2014, so really it's hardly a surprise that this is on the list. And a lot of the reasons I loved The Stick of Truth still ring true for The Fractured Butthole. Also, fantastic name. It's once again like playing a really long episode of the show, and much of the format remains unchanged with a few tweaks here and there where needed. The biggest change being the combat system now having a little bit more depth without being excessively complicated. While not particularly difficult, I don't think I really had to retry any battles on Mastermind difficulty until I was pretty near the end. It's still more interesting than The Stick of Truth. With more varied attacks and movements available to both you and enemies, there's a bit more strategy involved, with some of the later game bosses being particularly clever, not to mention hilarious. The game was delayed numerous times during development, but this simply proves that this should be the norm. Not necessarily the delays, but, taking time to make sure it's right. Too many games are rushed out before they're ready. Here they took their time and delivered another hilarious South Park game on par with the previous iteration. Unfortunately, we don't get another trip into 8-bit Canada, but to be fair, the replacement was pretty good.
Come in. It's so great back here. Everything's so sweet and nice. Too bad you're not allowed.
If you didn't play The Stick of Truth, you should absolutely play it first, however, as there's a fair bit of overlap between the two with a decent amount of callbacks to The Stick of Truth. The only real complaint I have with the game is using the other character's powers to clear obstacles becomes a bit tedious. after a while. But other than that, there's not much for me to whinge about. Much like A Stick of Truth, if you're a fan of the show, you'll be a fan of the game.
You're dead.
Just who the fuck are you, white boy?
Stay calm. Let me first make it absolutely clear that I am not a Nazi.
What you say? You say you're a Nazi?
No, I am not a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi, okay?
You ain't a white-ass fascist Nazi pig, then you're either colored or you're a deviant. And you sure as hell ain't colored, so you trying to pass as a deviant? You look like a deviant to you, Sister Grace?
Nope.
Hang on. I may not be a deviant.
God, I told you he's a goddamn Nazi!
Oh, fuck this.
Motherfucker!
Let me say this again. I ain't no goddamn Nazi.
Another sequel to a game that appeared on one of my previous lists. Am I becoming predictable? Maybe I am, because if you've not seen my previous lists, usually if a game involves some sort of alternate history, it's got a fighting chance of making the list. I don't know what it is, but I've always been a bit of a regular history buff as well, with World War II being of particular interest to me. So, alternate World War II history is bound to pique my interest right off the bat. Thankfully, the Wolfenstein games have had excellent gameplay and stories to back up their fascinating settings. The only downside, to me at least, because I'm sad and really like achievements, is the existence of the mine Leben difficulty, which sadly means I probably won't 1k this. I mean, I get the game's set in a world run by the Nazis, but I feel even old Adolf himself would consider this a bit much. And he was a right cunt. Speaking of the man who single-handedly ruined a snazzy style of facial hair for everyone, he hasn't reprised his role of Robot Hitler yet. But the events of the game make me think that we may see a Robot Hitler in the third game. Just a hunch. I really want to talk about the best bits of this game, but I feel so much of what I love about it is it's all tied in with the story, and while I said maybe spoilers earlier, I really don't want to spoil any of this game. I want you to go and play it and experience it yourself. It has possibly one of the single greatest scenes in video game history. To me, anyway. But to be honest, if none of the story or historical related stuff is your thing and you just want to shoot things, you'll have fun as well, shooting Nazis with an array of powerful weapons because, really, who doesn't like shooting Nazis? Except, well, Nazis. But I doubt they're watching. Which means I can get away with shit like this. I'm sure whatever I ended up filling that gap with took far too long to make and was not worth it at all. Hopefully I offended somebody though. Moving on. As I mentioned before, I do enjoy dabbling in history from time to time, so it's not particularly surprising that I'm partial to the Assassin's Creed series. Now, it has to be said it's been a bit all over the place since we left old Ezio back in the day. I think a quick summary of recent entries is required. 3. Shite. 4. A+ Pirate Simulator, C- Assassin Simulator. Unity. They say a picture speaks 1,000 words. Well, that's gotta be worth a couple of thousand at least. Syndicate. Ye olde time fun that nobody played. Shame really. So, Ubisoft, sensing the tide was turning against them, decided to take a year away and go back to the drawing board. If the results were always as good as Origins, I'd be begging every developer that churns out yearly games to do the exact same thing. Although I enjoyed Syndicate, you still felt the formula was getting a bit stale. It needed a bit of a shake-up and Origins delivers it. Gone are the days of counter, kill combat and overpowered hidden blades. Now you have a much bigger assortment of weapons with different perks, rarity, levels and stats, and a hidden blade that you'll only be using when you're, actually sneaky. And even then, it might not work if you come across an enemy that's a higher level than you. Oh yeah, you level up now, meaning you have to be mindful of what enemies, areas and missions you take on. Speaking of missions, there's a lot more variety this time around, with a hefty number of side quests that I actually feel like they're worth doing to go along with the main story, that also I found reasonably compelling with some pretty great characters. Also, the game looks incredible. I should probably point out that I played this on the Xbox One X and was the first game I played in 4K, and holy shit, this game is gorgeous. In particular, riding through the desert under a starry sky or in sweltering heat of the sun, complete with hallucinations when you overheat, were a particular highlight. A sorely neglected part of the Assassin's Creed games in recent times has been the modern day stuff, which it was a bit iffy at the best of times anyway, but it's still there. But it doesn't feel as overbearing as it did in earlier games, while not feeling as half-arsed as it has done recently. They seem to find a good balance this time. I'll be honest, I expected very little from this game, but this is by far the best game since 2, and it likely could have taken number 1 another year, but it would have taken something really special to top number 1 for me this year.
Mr. King Dice, I'm the gamest in the land. I never play nice, I'm the devil's right-hand man. I can't let you pass, cause you ain't done everything. Bring me those contracts, come on, bring them to the king.
Look at it! I feel like I don't have to say anything. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna shut up and play another 30 seconds. Just sit and enjoy.
If you haven't finished your class, haven't worked assiduously, no, I cannot let you pass. Don't you mess with me. Don't mess with King Dice. Don't mess with me. Don't mess with King Dice. Don't mess with me. Mr. King Dice.
Christ on a bike, I love this game. I'm a sucker for unique art style, and let's be honest, it's pretty fucking unique. Look at it! A hand-drawn game with a 1930s cartoon style. How could anyone not love this? Every level looks amazing, every boss looks fantastic, the animation is stellar, and there's just so many little details to take in. The only bad thing about this game is that it took as long as it did to come out, and realistically that's a positive because it let them refine their game into the masterpiece that it is. The music, oh my god, the music is so good. The whole jazz big band soundtrack matches up so well with the art style, and honestly I could listen to the King Dice song forever.
I'm Mr. King Dice, I'm the gamest in the land.
I actually really want the vinyl soundtrack of the game, but unfortunately despite uploading this to YouTube, I'm not YouTube rich. So beyond looking beautiful, there is a game there. An at times brutally challenging platformer. This game is one of, if not the most satisfying 1K I've ever got achievements wise. Completing a particularly difficult boss, for example that cunt Rumour Honeybottoms, has a similar feeling of accomplishment to completing harder levels in the Trials games. You spend ages going through trial and error until you finally beat the boss, and then if you're like me, you go back and try and do it better. And then later, you come back and try it on expert difficulty, which at times can be a right bastard. And then you do it again. I'm generally not a fan of games that are difficult for the sake of being difficult, but Cuphead feels like it's challenging enough without the difficulty feeling cheap. You're always improving and the light's always at the end of the tunnel. I was frustrated at times, sure, but I never felt like the game was fucking me over at any point. Except Rumour Honeybottom's a fucking bitch. He was the fucking bane of my... Nope. No. I'm not giving her any more screen time. She doesn't deserve it. Where was I? Doesn't matter. Buy this game. And I almost forgot, it's only like 17 quid. Worth every penny and more, and I cannot wait for Cuphead 2. There better be one or I'll do nothing because I'm a lazy bastard. I don't hope there's a second one. But anyway, that's the list. Now for some honourable mentions. Resident Evil 7. So this can't make the list because I haven't actually played it. That being said, I've seen enough playthroughs of the game and I've been entertained enough by it that I feel it deserves at least a mention. Call of Duty World War II. It's probably the first COD campaign I've enjoyed in years. Pleasant surprise. Multiplayer's still a bit pish though. Ghost Recon, it's a bit of a meh if you're playing it on your own, but in co-op it breeds shenanigans. Slime Rancher was in early access for a while but got a full release this year and was actually free on Xbox. Really fun chill game and it filled the same need that Stardew Valley did last year. So that's it for another year. Maybe this time I'll actually put out another video before next year's list. Or maybe I'll continue to be a shiftless bastard and do Rydell before then. Yep. No. You know what? You know what I'm going to do this year? I'm going to finish Mein Leben and prove to that prick me that I'm wrong. Yeah, that makes sense. See you next year. Right, okay, fuck it. I'm doing this. I'm going to do this. Nope, don't care what happened. I already know. Okay, right, let's do this. And yeah, whatever. Give me your gun, please. You're going to die. Give me your gun. I'm more important. I'm the main character. That's right. Come on. Yep, on you go. You go out and die now. There we go. And let's do this. Where is he? Up! Fucking end me.